Tom Lee is coming out on CNBC like clockwork.
Are you still bullish on crypto and stocks going into year end?
I'm pretty bullish into December, even with maybe the first day being rocky.
Every red day, like yesterday, he's coming out and tells us, hey, you know what? Don't worry, we are going to all-time highs very, very, very soon. We will talk about that. We will talk about why it's sometimes also annoying for him to say all the same things over and over again. But then we also dive into what is the next couple of days are looking at, because they are getting extremely exciting.
Welcome to the game, I'm the wolf of Dubai.
So welcome to a brand new video. If you don't know who I am, my name is Danny and I'm looking for stocks that can go up 10, 20, 30, 40, 50x like I did for Tesla. And my subscribers bought houses and apartments. And I also have my personal trading group where we trade for you all automatically into your account. We having a professional day trading team that looks every day for stocks, options that can absolutely explode. We send them into your portfolio and your portfolio buys it and sells when we tell it to sell. It's all done for you. So we are doing all the work and we want to achieve between like 8 to 15% per month. So if you start with $10,000, you can see we can make you up to $58,000. If this is interesting and you have $10,000 to start, then let's dive in and schedule a call with me personally. And we'll see if we can help you as well. Now, with that being said, we also had one trade to start of the week, and it's nothing better than absolutely being green on a red market day, right? You can see here we traded win yesterday because this was the only sector that had some bullishness into it. So if you want to have this, schedule a call. Now, let's dive into the clip of Tom Lee, and you can see what I see is a very convinced Tom Lee, but a little bit annoyed Tom Lee, and kind of like a spinning wheel of all the same things over and over again. Let's have a look.
I remember last time you were on, Tom, you said good year-end action, but rocky in the near term. That was about 2 weeks ago, and we've certainly seen that. But you still bullish on crypto and stocks going into year-end?
I am. I think the biggest tailwind that's going to emerge in the next couple of weeks is around the central bank. The Fed is set to cut in December, but also today is the day that quantitative tightening ends. And as you know, the Fed's been shrinking its balance sheet since April 2022. It's been a pretty big headwind for market liquidity. The last time we had an end to QT, quantitative tightening, was September 2019. And if you look back at that period, the markets really responded well. I think within 3 weeks rallied more than 17%. So I do think the timing of QT ending, which is now essentially QE starting, and the Fed, and at a time when November kind of was topsy-turvy. So I think people got cautious, but now have to performance chase. And then you have a really typically a seasonal tailwind. So I'm pretty bullish into December, even with maybe the first day being rocky.
Yep. So it's still all about the Fed for you, because I was thinking there is a time when a market can hit an inflection point where the reason the Fed is cutting becomes a problem for the market. That's what I thought. With the jobs and everything else, there might come a time where purely Fed cuts or the backdrop is that there is some weakness in the market, in the economy. You don't see that?
I mean, I'd say that the shutdown put a blackout on data, and I think that created a bit of anxiety because, markets like visibility. But to me, the fact that claims have been behaving and the September jobs report kind of showed a bit of a recovery. I think the labor market's probably holding fine, but the Fed doesn't want that to worsen. But I think the inflation story is actually weakened a lot. So to me, the Fed would be cutting for the right reasons, which is as they look at the next 12 months, the tariff inflation impacts are fading, but there's risk on the job market. So, I mean, I think it's cutting for the right reason, which is, real rates are tightening if they don't cut.
Here's what concerned me about a couple of weeks ago, Tom, with the market's behavior, and that was watching all of the AI high flyers dip and drop, and pretty precipitously in some cases, because it looked like the Fed wasn't going to cut. That raised questions about what was happening in the private markets, and it made me start to wonder, okay, are we looking at a lot of business models that don't work if the Fed doesn't continue to cut rates? Are these the business models that are driving and powering the market right now? That's the one thing that made me sit up and say, that's a little different.
Yeah, I think there was a bit of soul searching, Becky, in November, because we know leverage rose, and we know there was deleveraging in some markets like crypto, and we know margin debt's high. And I think that there was essentially a reset in November because the market had a 6% decline, but the AI stocks and the meme names and a lot of other names fell even more. So I think that position reset has been healthy, and I think many fund managers we talked to in November, in the midst of all that, kind of threw in the towel, thought the rest of the year was sort of a write-off, and now if December is strong, there's going to be a bit of performance chasing, and I think that's what you should typically expect in the final weeks of the year.
I thought it was when we saw Bitcoin sell off and sort of the high flyers sell off on the notion that Powell got hawkish at that one, whatever it was, that one meeting. And then Williams totally turned that around, and the Fed futures jumped, and it became clear they're definitely cutting again, and we got very little for that. With Bitcoin should be back at 100 if it really is totally dependent on Fed easing, and if it's a debasement trade, which people say it is. We didn't get much. For now, everybody, you're sure that they're going to cut now. There was a time where we thought they weren't going to cut. What do we get for going back to cutting mode?
Yeah, I mean, Bitcoin and crypto have been disappointing because they really took it in the gut in mid-October and then kind of got hit again when, you're right, when the odds of a Fed cut dropped, Bitcoin fell. And then now that the odds have recovered of a cut, they haven't quite recovered. I think that's still the lingering effects of that deleveraging that happened on October 10th. It's not that different than the wipeout that happened in 2022 with FTX. That took 8 weeks. So we're kind of emerging from that. That's 7 weeks in the rearview mirror. So maybe in another week or two, I think crypto has fully washed out, and that's when it starts to participate.
Yeah, wipeout's a bad word. If you could pick another one next time.
Yeah.
We don't. You had very aggressive targets for the S&P and Bitcoin by the end of the year. I mean, it'd be crazy to hit the Bitcoin target, for example. I don't know what that was. But 7,000 on the S&P is still something you think that can happen this year?
Yeah, 7,000 is only 2% for S&P. From here, I think 5% or maybe even 10% is possible in December. So I think 7,200, 7,300 is likely for S&P.
So as you can see in this video, you can see a couple of things, okay? First, Tom Lee is always out there and supports CNBC when they need a piece, okay? And if you need a bullish piece, then you call Tom Lee. If you need a good bullish talking during a negative market day, there is Tom Lee. And when you come into the most important part of the stock market seasonality, then you call Tom Lee. And Tom Lee actually said again that he expects a huge rally for crypto and the whole market, right? Towards the end of the year. He believes that there's the end of the QT and therefore QE essentially. So what this means that the Fed stop tightening the money and releasing more money to the market. This gives liquidity and this gives higher prices in the markets and especially for crypto as well. Don't forget, tomorrow on the 3rd of December, we have also the Fusaka update that usually after this upgrades of Ethereum goes crazy. And that would couple of thoughts put into make totally sense because you had this drawdown, then you had another drawdown, and this is kind of very well for a huge rally to come because you flush out the bears, you flush out the weekends, and then you have a huge rally with this huge catalyst. And also you have the seasonality on the market. But what I also see is a Tom Lee kind of, how to say it? If you ask someone what he thinks about something and he tells you all the same thing again, then at some point it's like a kind of, annoying, not annoying, but it's like a, man, what should I tell you? I think the market goes up. I think we will see volatility in November, which we saw, and that we will see very high crypto prices till the end of the year. Okay. He tells this over and over again. So actually, he's very convinced. He doesn't swing around. Obviously, there's different price targets all the time adjusted to the current situations. And why you are a good investor if you do that. If you understand, okay, there's more data points that says, okay, this can change, then you can also adjust your thesis. And this is exactly what Tom Lee is doing. I love that. Let me know what you think and what you do with your Bitcoin. And also check out extenddaytrading.com, because we are having just a limited of seats available every single month, because I'm making the calls with every potential member to see if we are a fit or not. And if you have $10,000, schedule a call, and I see you tomorrow for a brand new video here on those channels.